All right, this afternoon we have Mastermind with Neil Schwartz. His special guest is Dean Souza from Century 21 Advantage.
Real Estate Alliance.
Thank you. Sorry, Dean. I know that was a change here recently. So wanted to, Dean and I go way back. We've been around Mike Ferry since Mike Ferry was a pup. And a lot of good stuff. Dean's had a really interesting career. And I don't want to take any of his thunder. I want him to tell us a little bit about it. Maybe give us the Reader's Digest version, Dean, of your career, some of the things that are going on. And then I want to dive into it because the last 12 to 18 months have been pretty interesting and very successful for you. So let's talk about this.
All right, perfect. I entered the business in 1987. Prior to that, I taught high school, and I had owned a convenience store all at the same time. Let's see, my first year in real estate, I closed 18 transactions, primarily from calling expireds, knocking doors. Doubled that the next year and settled in for several years at about 50 transactions. Prior to getting my real estate license, somebody had pirated a set of Mike Ferry cassette tapes. And while I was waiting for my license to be mailed, back in that day, I took copious notes. I think it was Mike's Action Workshop.
Okay.
You remember that?
So that was circa 1990s, more or less?
87.
Okay.
And so not really knowing what I was doing and just listening verbatim to what I was hearing, I actually wrote a business plan without really knowing what that was. I showed up my first day at the office at 7:30 and nobody was there. And so when somebody got there at about 8:15, I asked where the phones were so I could call expired listings. And in my first 30 days, I listed 3 expired listings. I started working buyers, and when one of the listings sold, I just said to myself, this is much easier. This is better. So I decided to focus on listings. Anyway, I probably spent my first 5 years, I was producing consistently around 50, 60 transactions. And as I continued to attend Mike Ferry seminars, I wanted to be in the 100+ group. I thought they were the cool people.
Right. And get on stage, right?
Get on stage. And, just for me, it was a threshold. And one of my main motivators is peer recognition. I love to be recognized by my peers. So I was primarily, again, still knocking doors and calling expireds. And I tried talking to 100 people a day at the doors. Mike had said, talk to as many people every day. If you do that over the course of a year, the number of people that you talk to consistently will be about where you produce. And I really struggled trying to get to 100 people every day at the doors. So my first one-on-one coach, Bob McKinnon, said, go to the phones. You can do it a lot easier and a lot faster. So I did. And I just quit cold turkey what I was doing and did something different. I went 30 days on the phone without even a lead. I was so bad on the phone, and I remember this specifically. I was doing the just listed script. I went through the whole introduction, but I knew there was someone on the line. There was just silence. And I said, "Are you there?" And the lady said, "Oh, I thought you were recording." So I was freaking out because for 30 days, I did not even get a lead. But then I got one, then I got another one, then I started getting listings. And so in the period of 12 months, I went from 50 transactions to 96
Wow.
in 1 year.
By shifting from doors to phones to be able to talk to more people?
Exactly.
Got it.
Now,
But you had to get better at it, right?
I had to get better fast. I was role playing every morning. My schedule is still pretty much the same. I get up at 4. I work out for about an hour and a half. I do my meal prep, hop in the shower, get out of the house, go to the office, role play. Back then, I used to get on the phones by 7:30. Now I get on at 8, and I still prospect until 12.
That's fantastic. So, Dean, you had at your peak as a sales agent before you went in as an owner. Your peak number of transactions was how much?
274.
274 transactions.
Right.
And you did this, what year was that?
That was 2010.
Got it. Okay, so it was after the 4, 5, 6. So we were actually in the trough of some issues. Were you handling any REO properties at that time?
I was, my business was mostly past client sphere of influence, and it transitioned into, still expireds, but then REO as well.
So what percentage of the business was REO, do you think?
It was about 50-50 at that point. And I think it's interesting the way I got into REO. I was fortunate enough to get a hint of what was coming down the road. And so I took 1 week and I traveled across the country and visited 4 REO teams on the East Coast and in the Midwest. And so I came back home and I took one of my 4 hours and I started calling banks and asset management companies. And I did that for 6 months before I even got a chance to work with somebody.
Really?
Yeah.
You're pretty tenacious with that. You make up your mind and you go with it, right?
Well, never see failure as failure, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, so all right. So you had a little bit of a health scare there at some point back in, what was it, 2010, 2011?
2011. I got sick and I was spending more time in the hospital as opposed to out. I was told that I needed a liver transplant. It was a non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. So only 13% of all the people who need a liver actually receive one. And I was lucky enough to receive one in late September of 2012. And so I went back to work in 2013. That health scare scared my wife, because our income was based on me being healthy and prospecting and doing business. So, together we decided to open a company, and that was 2013. And a few years later, we purchased a Century 21 franchise, and we had 3 agents. We built that up to 100 agents in 3 offices. In 2018, and I think you can tell from my appearance, I'm not a young chicken anymore. My wife sent me a text of a pregnancy test, and she was pregnant with our daughter. So that changed the dynamic. She is now 2.5 years old. And back in December, we started talking about our quality of life. We knew we could build a company that rivals, that could get close to what Neil has going on. But with our daughter And at this point in our lives, we decided that we really didn't want to grind like that and have our daughter suffer. We wanted to, have a great life with her. So,
Well, wait a minute. Everybody thinks I have the great life and that they're grinding.
right now, this is for us. This is better. I'm sure where you're at is good for you. So, we finally made the decision in February to find a buyer for our company. We reached out to 4 different Century 21 owners, and in August 1st, we consummated the sale and transferred ownership.
So up till that time, from you of owning the company, 4 or 5 years of building the organization, you really didn't go list and sell houses anymore, right?
No, I continued to do maybe 25 roughly transactions a year, which was the residual business from the business that I had built up.
So a lot of past client and sphere.
Right.
They would just call you. You didn't really cultivate that. So that's a residual of work that you did years past, not cultivating it, but that past client and sphere base was still giving you 20, 25 transactions a year, and you weren't paying attention to it at all.
Yeah, the only thing I really did for them is I used, I put all my contacts into Business Builder, and I put them all on the monthly newsletter. And then I also put a lot of them on the preferred client program.
Got it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for those of you, if you're not using either of those tools, I think you're missing out on a great benefit that Century 21 has.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dean. So you're shifting gears. You're now moving from being an owner to being a top real estate agent. I mean, I always said to you, you were better off being you're a great salesman. You're a fabulous salesman. You don't get to 250 transactions and not be a great salesman. Couldn't figure out what you were doing owning the business. But it sounds like, so you've been out of ownership since, by the time you actually pulled out by September, October of 20?
Yeah, well, we transferred, the transfer was August 1st. When you wind a business down, it took us about 90 days to really transfer everything and get rid of the major distractions.
Right. So you were still being distracted, but you were working on starting anew, so to speak.
Correct.
So how many listings and sales in the fourth quarter of 20?
18.
18 listings and sales in the fourth quarter of 20 from a standing start.
Yeah, mostly listings. I had three buyer sides, and the only buyers that I generally work are the ones that want to buy my listings.
Okay.
Direct referrals.
Okay. So, I mean, what'd you do? I mean, that's the $1 million question that we all ask. What do you do in the first day, week, month to move this forward?
Well, I always use Top Producer as my main CRM, and we purchased another one, transferred everybody over into the database. Well, I had to go in and scrub it. And so while I was doing it, I had a little rule for myself that if I couldn't pick up the phone and call them right then they couldn't be in my database. So I called everybody, even people that I hadn't talked to in years. Even people I knew that were not happy with, the end of a transaction or something like that. So I just started talking to everybody, and the business, the faucet just turned on.
Dean, you were talking to people that you hadn't talked to for 5, 6, 7 years, right?
Longer.
What's that conversation sound like? We have agents that don't talk to people for 90 days and they can't talk to them.
Hey, Neil. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Neil. This is Dean Souza. And you know what? I owe you a big apology.
What for, Dean?
Well, Neil, I know you weren't sitting around waiting for my call, but you know what? I haven't done a great job of staying in touch with you. And as your real estate agent, I really should have been doing a better job than that. So my apologies. And, I really wanted to talk to you about business. So, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
And then I would go into, hey, tell me what's going on real estate wise in your world.
Got it. So even though you didn't talk with them, well, let me ask a different question. How many people said, "Oh, you're a bum. You should have called me," and hung up on you?
Not one.
Not one. Okay. Did anyone drill you on what have you been doing and how come and nothing like that? Was it a real uncomfortable?
No, most of them had known what I've been up to
Okay.
because of social media.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it was like we never skipped a beat.
Interesting. Well, tell me about, so how do you stay up with them social media wise? What were you doing over all this time?
I'm not very good at social media. But for instance, when I was sick and in the hospital, my wife would post, updates about my condition.
Okay.
And then, as we like to travel, and so we would post things about our travel and just, personal things. Wasn't really a lot of business posts or anything like that.
It was just what's going on in your life and the fact that you had a 2-year-old baby.
True. Yeah, that was exactly it. And there weren't any pictures of me with my shirt off holding a beer or anything like that. I was always very conscious of that. So.
Got it. Wow, that's really great. So tell me, so what's the goal for 2021?
Well, I'm almost a little sheepish when I say this because really it's just to sell 60 homes.
60 homes, your first full year back in the real estate business.
Right, correct.
60 homes in your market would give you about how much money?
It's about $1,100,000.
So can you live on that in your neighborhood?
I think I can.
Okay, good. So I think, okay. So where's that business going to come from? Are there expireds up there? They're for sale by owners? What's going on in your marketplace?
Well, yes, all that. So in the last quarter, I pretty much focused just on my database and circle of influence. And as I put together my business plan for 2021, I realized that I was going to need to really get down and grind again and rebuild this thing. So my prospecting schedule is from 8 to 9. I'm calling expireds, for sale by owners, canceled listings. From 9 to 10, I'm working on my absentee owner database by calling for rent by owners.
Okay, good.
10 to 11, I call just listed, just solds. And then from 11 to 12, I'm working on my database. I'm still scrubbing it. 12 o'clock, I generally will have a touch base meeting with my wife, who handles the other side of the business. 12:30 to 1, I'm returning calls, returning emails. And then if I either start prepping for appointments, which is from 3 to 5, or if I have no appointments, I'm continuing to prospect, and that could be any of the things that I hit before. But then there's also a new wrinkle, and I call it my agent circle of influence.
Tell me about that.
Well, throughout my 30 some odd years with the Mike Ferry organization and being a coach for Mike twice. And Mike has done a great job of mentioning, my wife's and my name, at retreats and keeping us in a higher profile. I want to capitalize on on the relationships like I have with Neil and some of the other agents, and position myself as the go-to realtor, that you would refer business to for the San Francisco Bay Area. And I will do, that plan really is to stay front of mind in several ways, and a couple of phone calls a year, and every 2 months, something that I'm working on or may have some value, to the people that are in my database. And so that, that's what that part of it is.
So you think you'll do 12, 15 transactions a year doing that?
Well, I'm looking actually to do more. I'm actually looking to do 75 transactions a year from that. That won't happen in the first 12 months.
Right.
That's my goal for that database.
Wow. Very cool. Very, very cool. So let's go back to your past client and sphere. You said you're working that database, and you're call. How many people in that database, Dean, more or less?
1,200.
1,200. And how many people deep have you gone through so already?
I have at last count 450 to go.
So you're
about
2/3 of the way through, more or less.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So what did that sound like? What did that look like? It was just everybody you talked to was kind of the way we just did that role play?
More or less. If I didn't need to apologize, prior to me owning a company, I was more rigid in my approach to them, and I'd get on the phone and hey, Neil, this is Dean. It's a quick call about business. Now I vary a little bit depending on the relationship, and I'll ask what's going on in their life. I probably know a lot what's going on, so I'll ask about their children, if we have things in common, because I am real diligent about making sure that I talk to most of the database 4 times a year. And then, Ira the other day was pretty much spot on with, how my plan works. I have about 100 people that we call advocates. Those are people that have referred business or we've done recent transactions with.
Right.
I talk to them every month.
Okay.
They're still on the monthly newsletter. And now we shoot them a text once every 2 months. We'll drop a voicemail drop on them about once every 2 months. So they're getting dripped on.
So Dean, you shifted gears. You did 18, 19 transactions in the last quarter. You're on track for 5 transactions a month as you rebuild this. And it kind of sounds to me that you're just methodically made it your business to totally attack your past client and sphere base. Am I hearing it right?
That's correct. There's not a lot of expireds, but that's not a reason for me not to call the ones that are there.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you're still calling those. All right.
I'm still calling those, and probably one of the ahas for me has been the for rent by owners.
Okay. That's been powerful, huh?
Very receptive.
Yeah.
And I'm able to build up my database. Now, another prospecting source that I didn't mention, and I did before, and I don't have that up and running yet, is probates and affidavits of death.
Okay. So
And
that's another source of business you used to work but don't work now?
I will start working that February 1st.
Got it.
But
Okay.
here's one of the wrinkles in that. Sometimes, or many times, somebody will say, I've already got an agent, and I have some objection handlers for that, such as, well, are they certified or qualified to do probate? And typically they'll say something to, kind of blow that off. And one of my comebacks is, well, Neil, has your agent ever mentioned to you about selling your home without paying a commission?
Oh,
And they they do that. So this database that I'm building of investors and absentee owners, if the deal is good enough, they don't care if they pay my commission.
explain what you mean.
Okay.
Oh, you're talking about your investors buying the deal.
The investor database that I'm building up from the for rent by owners.
I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
If I bring them a deal that's 100,000 under market and my commission is 30 grand.
The investor will pay it.
Right.
Got it. So you do that. So that's kind of a open conversation, an opening conversation with a probate.
If I need to go there, I don't throw it out unless I need to.
Got it. Got it. Smart move. Good for you. That's what they say. Dean is a deal maker. I like that. So Dean, talk to me. Tell me, I love to find out, what do you think your superpower is?
My stubbornness, my refusal to give up.
You can't beat a person that won't give up, can you?
No. And I think to go along with that, I think the thing that separated me very early in my business and still does today is my ability to internalize and know my scripts and presentations.
Got it. So how did you learn that?
It's
You didn't actually role play, did you?
not very sexy. It was it was practice on my own and role play every day. And that was part of my morning routine. It was set in stone. Handwriting the scripts, chanting and pyramiding scripts, and then getting on a role play, and then immediately getting in, going into prospecting.
So just one thing after another.
Mike had, and this stuck with me. He had said, use everything you do in the morning from the time you get up to launch yourself into a powerful prospecting session.
Oh, so everything you're doing is you're winding up the spring so that when 9 o'clock comes or 8 o'clock, whatever time it is, boom, you're ready.
When I'm doing my meal prep in the morning, which takes about 20 minutes, I have something from Mike Ferry playing on my phone, and I've got my AirPods in my ears, even now.
Wow. Fantastic. So is there a particular script or dialogue, something that you use or over the years that works for you, that when a client says this, or when a client asks this, or when a situation comes up, it's like, wow, I got him now. Is there anything that pops into your mind?
I'm going to say no, but it's more of the response pattern and how to handle things that people say.
Right.
It's the ability to repeat and affirm and ask another question.
Okay. So it's a technique you picked up over time.
Right. And, for me, the mother of all scripts is the just listed, just sold script.
Tell me why.
I believe if you can master that, and this is how it works for me, that it contains every technique that we would want to know or learn in the Mike Ferry sales system. It has embedded commands. It has questions. It has repeat and affirm. It has closing. It's everything in that script. And I think if you really, really internalize and know that, the rest of the scripts fall into place with practice.
That's a great thought. I never looked at it that way. I always think of it as if you know the basic scripts, you own it. That's what you're saying.
So
you can dance with them.
What I used to do is I would put my scripts on a clipboard when I got in the car. I'd take them out the car. So when I was driving, I would practice my scripts until I could just chant them, verbatim in the car without looking at them. And then when that got boring, I would repeat them in reverse order. That's when I really knew them.
Wow. Wow. That's great. That's fantastic. Dean, I know we have a hard stop at 1:00. I want to be respectful of that. Can we open it up to some questions right now?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So questions for Dean, things you interested in knowing, how he gets from point A to point B, mindset, how does he stay up in the morning? I mean, you've been doing this for a lot of years, Dean.
About 34 years.
And then you got away from it. I think this is the thing that I find most interesting. You were a giant producer, switched gears because you had to, but you switched gears. You were successful in doing that, and then felt like, well, you wanted to change that because your lifestyle changed a little bit more, and you're shifting gears again. And be how do you do that? And stay in the game, stay relevant, do deals. I mean, we have agents that are a third our age that can't do 10 deals a year. And, you're doing 20, 25 deals a quarter.
In owning a company, the things that I did really didn't change all that much. It was just the scripts that I used to say.
Okay.
Because I took what I was doing with prospecting and learned the recruiting scripts and the recruiting presentations. I was very diligent about the time that I spent in recruiting conversations with agents.
Got it.
Being a coach for Mike, I always believe you better practice what you preach.
And you do. You do. Questions for Dean? Anyone? Questions for Dean? Put your hand up or just unmute yourself and ask. Ali, you have something?
Well, Josie asked if you could repeat this script in reverse order.
Not now. The key word in there is what I used to do. I'm still trying to build up my chops and get back to a level that I was before I got sick, which was 12 years ago.
Got it.
I'm still pretty good on the phones, but I am not as good as I need to be.
Okay. Well, good. Perfect.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Valerie.
I'm curious about the agent circle of influence. When he says he was going to get 75 transactions, is that referral transactions?
Yes, ma'am.
So people sending you business in the San Francisco Bay Area.
So here's a shameless plug. If any of you have a referral for the San Francisco Bay Area, I want to be your man.
All right. I like that.
Okay.
Good stuff. Valerie, excuse me, not Valerie. Who had their hand? Josie, go ahead. Josie, go ahead. And then Ali, I'll call on you.
Hey, Dean, I am so impressed that you used the Century 21 Business Builder. Did you always use that, or did you just start using it since you got back into the business?
No, when we bought into the brand, and every new broker goes back to Madison, New Jersey to Realogy, and you spend a week learning about the tools. And that, when I saw Business Builder, it just made so much sense to put all my database into Business Builder and put them all on the monthly newsletter. And that is put them in one time and set it up, and it just goes and goes and goes, kind of like the Energizer Bunny.
Very cool. Good stuff. Ali, did you have a question?
Yes, I was going to ask, Dean, what was the most efficient method of your perspective? Which one you were more comfortable and more efficient to build your business on?
You know, that's a great question, and it's not a simple answer. And it's not simple because the market changes, and depending on where the market is where I have to be aware and spend more time. And I'll give you a good example, and I learned this, by hard knocks. In 1999, maybe 2000, I had always, done a lot of expired business because there was a lot of expireds. However, the expireds dried up, but I didn't change my prospecting, and I did not have a great year. So that just taught me a lesson that I have to be versatile in who I talk to and when I'm talking to them. So what I'm most comfortable in, I'm actually really comfortable in the database conversations. I'm really comfortable with expireds and canceleds, and I'm really comfortable with just listed, just solds. One of the things I learned from Neil is how to be conversational in my scripts. So for instance, I took my just listed script and I put transitional phrases in it. So for instance, if any of you who have done that a lot, what do they say when you ask them, when do you plan on moving? Never, I'm going to die here, And so one of my responses is, well, that's terrific. So you're going to live here for a long time, and turn that into a positive. I've heard that several times. So tell me, how long have you lived at this address? And when I am in a conversation in any script, like a real person, they're going to talk to me more often than not. I mean, if you think about your conversations with your friends, somebody says, hey, I got a new car. You don't just keep asking questions. You're going to say, wow, Neil, you got a new car. That's awesome. What color is it? It's not question, 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 question.
You're easy to talk to, Dean, because you've practiced being easy to talk to.
Right.
And that's very difficult to get across to some agents because they keep using the script like a hammer instead of a conversation.
When I call for rent by owners, one of the first things I do is I apologize for interrupting them. Sometimes if I'm calling expireds and, I'm going through the numbers and, I use Red-X, so I'll get 3-4 numbers for them. Sometimes I'll just say, hi, this is Dean Souza. I'm with Century 21. And, I apologize for interrupting you. I'm calling about 1234 Main Street. Is this the right number for that address? And that tends to get people, instead of, going, hanging up or just saying, I'm not interested, they're more willing to step back and go, oh, okay, that's a real person talking to me.
So
Good,
the second
perfect.
question I had was, have you ever tried to modify MFO scripts based on your own taste and use the method you feel that's more efficient, or you can do some adjustments on it?
That's a good question. I really don't. The questions more often than not remain the same. I may move a word here or there. It depends on who I'm talking to. And I learned that, by studying personality styles. I may change a word based or phrase it just a bit differently for the personality style that I'm talking to. And I worked for a long time trying to identify the personality style within the first 2 or 3 words. Mirroring and matching is real big. You don't need to change, in my opinion, I've not needed to change the words if I understand mirroring and matching and leading and pacing. And, for instance, somebody may answer the phone, and this happened to me this morning. Hello? Well, hello. This is Dean Souza. I'm over at Century 21 on Redwood Road. I may change the introductions. One of the scripts I use now in introduction is, hey, Neil, this is Dean Souza at Century 21 here in Castro Valley. Right now, our inventory, it's the lowest it's been in my 34 years in real estate. Buyers need sellers more than anything. And I was wondering, when do you plan on moving?
Got it.
I took that right from Mike at one of his superstar retreats. He was on the stage and just said it like that.
How about NLP?
Lonnie?
I'm sure you have taken NLP classes. Does it help in production?
Right. Wait, well, Ali, let me move on. And just 1 second, we'll come back to that. Lonnie, you have a question?
I had a question in regards to how you separate yourself from the transaction to focus on prospecting. I'm sure you have a team and a TC, but my biggest challenge is separating myself from the transaction to focus on prospecting.
Great question, and probably one of the most difficult things that, when I owned a company, that I found that agents got caught up in. So an earlier question that Neil asked me was, how do I go from selling to owning a company to going back into sales? One of the strengths that I have, and this happens in my personal life, is I'm able to compartmentalize different parts of my business, my life. If it isn't working for me, I put it in a little box and I put it in the dark depths of my mind. So in terms of business, there's an hour in my afternoon, early in the afternoon, that I identify as negotiating contracts and working on my transactions. I'm really good at being clear with my affiliates and any staff that I have, transaction coordinator. 1, do not interrupt me or distract me during my prospecting time until noon, period. In the past, I would even fine them $25 and it would go into a jar for the company. And we'd have a party at the end of the year. And so I defer everything into the afternoon and try to specifically put it into that 1 hour. And here's how I learned that. I primarily did a lot of doors first in my career, and we did not have cell phones. I would call expireds. I would leave the office at 9:30, and I'd be on the door by 10. I would stay on the doors until 2 o'clock. And I would go eat lunch from 2 to 3. Then I would go back to the office. And I would come back into the office and the receptionist would tell me, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. I go, okay, great. So where's it at now? Oh, well, the lender took care of it. Oh, the title rep took care of it. And I went, ding, 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 ding. That's their job. They do it better than I do. When I get into it, I muck it up. So let them do their job. So I'm just very clear with my affiliates and people that I work with that, that's your job. If you have a problem with the appraisal, please handle it. If you have a problem with title, don't call me, call the client, work it out. Let me know what you did so, I'm up to speed. Now that doesn't work all the time, but it generally gets rid of a lot of distractions. When I first am introduced to clients, I let them know that that's how I work. But I also let them know that if they need something, if they have anxiety about something, that they can call this person or this person. And you know what? If it's really an emergency, I'll pick up the phone.
Got it. Great stuff, Dean. Dean, I'm afraid we've got 2 more minutes, and I know you've got a hard stop on me. So I don't want to do that. What I want to do is everyone unmute yourselves, please. Unmute yourselves. Let's give this guy a big round. Woo! Good job, good job. I have asked Dean to come down and do some open mic prospecting with us. So he's said yes. So
Awesome.
um,
Wow, that's great.
yeah, we need to coordinate that, Dean, with Robert, because our agents are very, very good about doing that open mic. So we want to make sure that you get in there and do that. And certainly, if you guys have a referral up in the San Francisco Bay Area, please, 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 this guy will take care of your clients for you. All right, everyone. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate you, Dean, very much.
I have one question. Do I have your permission to call you and ask for referrals?
Me?
Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
I give you that permission. I'll give you a list.
You're the man, Dean.
All right.
All right, good job.
Of course, Dean.
All right. I look forward to talking to all of you.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, awesome stuff. So, what did we learn today? What did we learn from Mr. Dean?
Did he say that his superpower was that he didn't quit?
Yep.
I think that was my favorite.
Yeah,
He just keeps
that's what he
going.
said. That's what he said. Good. What else did we learn today?
Use MFO system. That's it. Just stick to the script and do your job.
Well, we do have a lot of people that have used that system and have done rather well from it. So, good stuff. What else did we learn today?
Stick to the
Memorize
script.
and
I'm sorry,
Memorize.
Ali, and then Vicky. Go ahead, Ali.
Just stick to the scripts. Use the mic query system, which works. That is the
Yeah,
best.
absolutely. Good job, Vicky.
memorize and internalize the scripts and make it conversational.
That's for sure. Absolutely. This is a conversation. We are in speak to the people business. And if you're not talking to people, got a problem. Christine. Genthy? No?
She was applauding the point.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I was interested when he mentioned that top producer CRM. So that's the recommended one. There's just so many to pick from, and you hear so many things.
Pick one. And
Hey,
just-
you know what
that's
we
the solution.
found? I've been doing this for 44 years. The best one is the one you're using.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I promise, because there's always one with another bell or whistle. Always. Pick one and use it, and don't look back.
All
All
right.
right?
Sounds good.
Let's see. Who else did we have that had their hand up here? Albert?
One thing that he said, that was very impressive, the way he goes 100%, 120% of him, if I may say, on anything he makes a decision on, he goes with faith all in, and he seems to actually come through all the time, because it goes back to the quote he said, I don't get measured by the the times I fail, but the times that I get down and get back up.
That's right.
Something towards that.
And I have to tell you,
Shortbread
he doesn't talk about this, but he was a very, very, very sick man. And he was very close to not making it. And he did, clearly, and he worked on his real estate business. He was part of our mastermind group with some of the top brokers in the country. And we were always giving him a bad time because he would be struggling a little bit. And I'd say, you're one of the best salespeople in the country. Why are you doing this to yourself? And then one day he said, I don't do this to myself anymore. I list and sell houses. It is way more fun. So he did it. And he really think about this. He still has actually business distractions. You can't unwind a business in a month or two. You just can't. He transferred the business in August, but he was still working on issues into the fourth quarter and still did 18 closed and pending in a quarter, not the year, in the quarter.
Oh my
Come on,
God.
you guys. It's amazing. And we're struggling on what do we do? Let's see. I get a question. Well, Neil, do you think I should door knock or phone canvas? What do you think I should do? All right. What else do we learn today?
It's Tess.
Tess, go ahead.
I think that for him, he is so versatile, meaning that when he started on door knocking and then went into the phone, and he really he studies his craft. Right now, he's starting on probate, right? So he really puts his mind to it and hits it head on.
You're right. You're absolutely correct. He stays focused on the task.
Yes.
That's a really good point. Good stuff. Robert.
So a couple things that I put down here, but I wanted to add to your point, 18 deals in the quarter. And for anyone who thinks that he doesn't have any other distraction, he's got a daughter that I think is 3.
2.5.
2. So to add on top of that, to eliminate that other excuse that you might have. But he's the epitome when he was talking about that I was in ownership and I was in sales. I did that. I went to ownership, recruited a bunch of people. Now I'm out and I instantly hit the ground running. He's the perfect example of don't tell me the system doesn't work. Tell me you don't want to do it.
Right.
Because he just has followed the system from sales to recruiting, back to sales the whole time. And he's been successful at everything that he's done it. And it's just, that's it. The system works if you do it.
System work. The question always is, the system works. Do you?
Yeah.
All right. What else did we learn today? Good stuff. Good stuff. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I think he is very, very disciplined person. He followed his schedule.
Yes, he does.
Every day. Yeah. 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, Kohu, 10 to 11, Kohu. Follow the schedule.
So we interview, 50, 60 people a year. He's the only one that called us twice to make sure he was done at 1 o'clock. Okay? Because he has another thing to do. All right? I don't know what it was. It's not important. It was important to him and that he was done at 1 o'clock because he didn't want to. He said, I don't want to cut you off, Neil, but I have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. Now, this is really interesting because here's what happens. When you're talking about yourself and you're sharing about yourself, human nature is you like doing that. Okay, that's a nice, feels good thing. And it's real easy to go over time. I do it all the time. Trust me. Okay. When you're talking about yourself, that's what you do. But to your point, Yvonne, he has a hard stop. That's it. Neil, 1 o'clock. And he was very, very nice about it. but he said, at 1 o'clock, I have to be gone. And if you'll notice, I started shutting it down about 10 minutes earlier than normal. And I didn't let it go. I don't normally cut people off from asking questions, but I knew what I had to do here. Okay? So you have to respect that. So Ali, I apologize for cutting you off, but
That's
I knew
okay.
that's
But
what I was up against.
I have a question. What time is his live prospecting session?
We don't have it set up yet. We'll let everybody know. Okay? Got it. He's gonna prospect for us during periods that he would normally prospect. He's just going to be on our Zoom channel. So in 30-minute increments like that. Okay.
Neil, I have a question. He mentioned that there are two things if we don't use, we are really miss out a lot. One is the monthly newsletter. We set it up, go automatically. What's the other one?
Business Builder. Business Builder is the CRM.
No, I think he was talking about that preferred.
Yeah. Sorry, you're right. It was a preferred client club. You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
Preferred client club.
Correct.
I never heard about this in our.
Well, Robert, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil, to add to your point with Business Builder, he did say to utilize Business Builder and the monthly newsletter and how awesome that is because it just keeps going. And
He did say that. Yes, he did. Thank you.
He did say that, but he mentioned two things. One is monthly later, the other one is, the preferred customer club.
Right. Good job. All right. What else do we learn? We need to wrap this up so that we can go prospect more. What a concept.
Yeah.
Josie, did you have something?
Yeah, I just want to say that, Robert and some people before Robert around that time have spent a lot of time with us trying to get us to use Century 21 online. And, it's just a lot of stuff. So it's good that he brought it up.
Yes.
It sounds
So it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of stuff. There's so much stuff that in all of my time with Century 21, and I've been with it except for 2 years, since 1971 or 2, when I got my real estate license. I actually went to pre-licensing school with Century 21. That's a long time. I've never been through all of the stuff. I've never gone through every class and every item and everything. There's a lot of stuff. So go have some fun with it. Go ahead. Who had a question?
It's Cherry.
Cherry, go ahead.
Hey, I just, it makes sense for me, I've been paying for Follow Up Boss, right? CRM. And the way you guys say it, the CRM, the best one is the one you actually use. I get it now because I've been paying for Follow Up and I haven't done shit with Follow Up Boss. I mean, it looks nice, it's great or whatever, but I'm honestly not really using it. So I might as well put my 8% franchise fee that I'm paying for to good use and just freaking use Business Builder, even though I hate the layout. I just need to suck it up, put people in there, and then put them on the monthly business plan and then not think about this anymore. So that was what I wanted to say.
Blinding flash of the obvious, right?
Yes. It's never obvious, the obvious.
Yeah. Blinding flash of the obvious. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Quick. We got this.